This deep dive with a question from our sources today. It's a question that honestly just fundamentally shifts how we view our own biology.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine if death was not a rule of nature for you, but just, a limitation of infrastructure.
It is such a provocative opening. I mean, we are so conditioned to view aging as an inevitability. Like,
Right.
it's just biological destiny.
Yeah, exactly. But this Cure for Death initiative frames it entirely differently.
They treat the human body like a machine that simply lacks a long-term maintenance plan.
Right, and a replacement parts department. And for those of you listening, we aren't looking at some new wellness trend here.
No, definitely not.
This is a systematic overhaul of human biology using two very specific technologies, AGT and BitDase.
Which reads like science fiction, honestly.
It really
Really?
does. But the source emphasizes that the blueprints are completely finalized.
That is the key here. This is an engineering proposal,
Yeah.
and it relies on a two-phase system.
Because you can't just, jump straight to immortality.
Right. You have to stabilize the vessel you're currently in first, which is where AGT comes into play.
Advanced genetic synthesis technology.
Exactly. It targets biological decay right at the molecular level. It's a constant active restoration process.
And the objective they state is to sustain your original biological body for up to 800 years.
800.
I mean, that is a staggering number.
It really is.
But the documents are also very clear about the limitations, right? They admit that even with AGT, biology still reaches exhaustion.
Right, because entropy eventually wins against the original biological material.
You can only patch the tire for so long.
Exactly. Even after 800 years, the structural integrity fails. So that is where the initiative shifts to phase two.
The BitDase system.
Right.
And this was the part that felt the most radical to me. The acronym gets thrown around a lot, but functionally, we are talking about a transfer mechanism.
Bio-integrated transfer of data and conscious essence. It's the bridge.
If AGT is preserving the hardware,
Mm.
BitDase is the software migration tool.
Precisely. It ensures continuity of yourself when that original body finally fails.
But the destination isn't another human body in the traditional sense. The source describes these genesis faults.
And this is where the imagery gets very visceral.
Yeah, it does.
These aren't hospitals. They are sterile, secure environments housing hydrobiopods,
That description really stuck with me. Just suspension in nutrient-dense fluid.
growing a vessel completely from scratch.
Right.
It's purpose-built biology, cultivated, not born. It removes the randomness.
And the user experience around this is surprisingly corporate. They call it entering a transition atrium,
It sounds more like a first-class lounge than a medical way.
which is by design, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're marketing a private suite for a controlled, planned transfer. They're selling continuity and choice.
Removing the trauma of death and replacing it with a scheduled appointment.
Yes.
But practically speaking, you can't just build Genesis vaults in every city center. The zoning alone would be a nightmare.
Not to mention the power requirements, which is why the rollout strategy begins with a single hub, Genesis 1.
But then the long-term vision shifts to what they call mobile vessels.
Ships.
Right. They want to put this infrastructure on the ocean.
Large-scale mobile vessels, yes. It lets them bring the transition atriums to different regions without permanent structures.
And operating in international waters probably sidesteps some complex regulatory hurdles.
Bioethics, human experimentation laws, all of that.
Makes sense. If you're rewriting the laws of biology, you want to be outside local jurisdictions. But building a fleet of high-tech ships requires massive capital.
It does. And they are crowdfunding it through 3 specific enrollment tiers.
Architect, visionary, and pioneer.
So the early adopters are basically venture capitalists buying their spot in line. The architect tier implies you're funding the very foundation of Genesis 1.
Paying now to build a facility you hope to use in 800 years, it's a bold gamble.
It is. But it raises a fascinating thought for you to take away from this.
Yeah.
Think about those mobile vessels in international waters. If the infrastructure for human immortality eventually exists entirely on the open ocean, detached from any nation-state, what happens to the concept of citizenship? If you live for 1,000 years, but your life is sustained by a ship that belongs to no country, do borders even apply to you anymore?
That is a reality I think we're going to have to wait a very long time to see unfold. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.